Welcome to Straight No Chaser. So grab a glass and join your hosts, your girl Ann Beezy, Thin Bad, and the Chief.
We on Straight No Chaser. And Beezy is usually here, but Beezy is busy. Beezy, we call her Busy. Maybe I had to change her name to Busy.
That's right.
Busy. And Miss Susan. You know, every time I say Miss Susie, I think about, when I was growing up, there was Romper Room, and her name was Miss Susie.
That's right.
So that's why I make sure I put the A-N on yours and say Miss Susan, because I don't want her to be like holding up the mic, holding up her little thing at the end of the day and say, I can see all my little romper
I
stuff.
see Wendell. I
Yeah,
see
right.
Michael. I see.
That's right. I see everybody.
Yep. And I used to wave.
Oh, see? That's right. Every wave like the TV could see us back.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, now, hell, the TV
you
can
did
see
too.
us back. The TV can see us back
That's
now.
right. Now that's true.
So this is, because all kinds of craziness is going on. And so we told folks today we were going to, not pick a particular topic and try to let folks kind of just kind of go through what is going on in the world and what's on everybody's mind. And I had an internet outage for technical difficulties, and I'm sitting here waiting. I said, all right, I posted this on Facebook a while ago. Where is everybody? And I'm like, oh, it never posted. Oh, okay. So now folks are hearing it now. But there's been a lot of, maybe it's been that way for a while, that things have been kind of crazy. Where, certain weeks something is brewing on every pot. Nothing's on the back burner. Everything is like right up front. But I don't know. Maybe that's just the way that the news has been, here lately, at least for the past couple of years. You could count on the dude in Washington, D.C. to come up with something crazy. And then you had regular life going on. And then so politics is always up front. We got people gearing up in campaigns for, we're up to what, 22 people who are into a Democratic primary already, and we're still a year away from the election. But I guess we're about a month away from the first debates, so that'll be interesting. That'll kick everything up into high gear. But then we've got all kinds of craziness going on. I was looking at my hometown, but now they seem to settle down somewhat, and we got a mayor in place. Hadn't been an election yet, but we've got somebody in place. The city council president moved on up there, so hopefully that starts to stabilize. But then I've been hearing something about one of the things that someone was talking about that's becoming more prevalent. I think it was 60 Minutes where I saw a story on it, was how a lot of cities and other municipalities all over the nation are being hijacked. Their internet systems are being hijacked.
Yeah, asking for ransom.
With ransomware. Yeah, with ransomware. And this stuff is getting huge. So what I'm hearing, and I needed to follow up and see, maybe they got it rectified, but I was talking to someone yesterday about a completely different issue, saying, well, we got the mayor stuff straight for now. Hopefully we can get the city back in order. They said, yeah, well, right now they're being held hostage. I said, what are you talking about? And they're like, that whole ransomware thing. So I don't know what that's got to be frightening. I mean, I know a couple of other cities that have gone through it already. I think Atlanta had gone through it at one point. And it's an interesting thing because on the one hand, you're like, what do? They got you hamstrung. I mean, people've got to be paid through that system. You got everybody's information was in that system who works for a given city, and the FBI and all of the other, internet. What do they call them over there, Chief? The Internet Tactical Super SWAT Time High Tech Squad. The big time geek squad.
Yeah, that's what they have.
The geek squad with guns. They say, don't pay them. Don't pay the ransomware because we're working on this, so don't pay them because that just keeps them going. But the city officials, like, man, I got all these people down here in my face wanting money and needing checks, and things need to be processed, and we can't process it. I'm paying, and so it keeps going on, and they have a hard time catching these folks. And a lot of their money, which they deal with, and maybe we'll have to deal with this one day. Chief, we have to find somebody who's an expert on Bitcoin, because I don't know what the hell is going on with that. I'm just busy trying to get my own little teeny coins together. So all this Bitcoin stuff, I'm trying to get my dollars, and it makes no sense to me. You heard that play on words? You see that? I did that really quick, just like I got bars like that. I'm witty. But what's been going on? I mean, what's been some of the things that's been hitting that's kind of caught your attention, in a big way?
Well, you alluded to the whole ransomware thing with Baltimore City, and of course that was really an intriguing piece, because I understand now that the system now will not do certain types of real estate transactions also. So, it really crippled the city in one sense, because they had to go back to paper and pen and not rely on the computer systems, because what happens is these guys, they're able to get into the city's computer systems and in essence get into all the major files and corrupt them, and they have the way to unlock the corruption, if you will. And so what happens then, they will notify someone in the city government that says, hey, if you want access to all of your real estate files or your water bills or whatever else you think is important, you pay us a couple of $1,000s, 20, 30, 40, up to 60 grand or more, and we'll give it back to you. And so, it leaves the entire city vulnerable. And what it also does is it shakes the confidence of the citizens, because think about it. If you want to go pay your bill and you're afraid that, well, my information is going to get sucked into this vortex, or you are trying to make a transaction, and let's just say that today was the last day you could make that transaction. Now hopefully they made contingency plans for this type of stuff, but it just really creates a huge headache for that particular jurisdiction, and Baltimore was the latest victim of this. And of course, one of the things that they're asking now was, did the technology geeks, as you call them, did they miss certain warning signs that this was about to happen? Now, sometimes there may be warning signs, sometimes there may not be, but I'm sure when this is all said and done, they're going to go back and look at, were we prepared for these things? Because this isn't the first hacker incident. So my question is, did anyone take any lessons learned from the other cities and agencies that had this very thing to happen to them?
Yeah, and it seems like they probably are taking aim at cities that they feel are vulnerable. So with all the negative publicity and news that Baltimore City, had over what was going on there over the past, month and a half, and here, you've got people who are taking control. It seems like they've taken advantage. The criminal, the intellectual criminals, the high-tech criminals are taking advantage of what they feel to be a point of, or a period of confusion, or, any period of change in this particular case. And what happens a lot of times is the people go ahead and pay because they don't want it to get out. For the reasons you named, that they don't want to lose any more faith in whatever system that they have. And folks are half what's the word? Superstitious about, you know, their money, and you still got people that don't want to put money in the banks and think that, you know, they're going to keep it in a shoebox under their mattress and all of this stuff because something's going to happen. You want me to take all of my money and put it in that bank, and I'm going to take this little piece of plastic and put it in this machine, and it's supposed to give me my money back? No, I'm going to keep it in my shoe. I mean, there's people out there that still, you know, are scared of all of that stuff. People who don't want to buy stuff online. People for these reasons.
That's right.
That you have this, and then you tie this in with all the stuff that's going on with the elections, with the tampering with the elections. Maybe that's something we ought to talk about at some point. Is you know what, you know, how do you? It's only going more and more things are going to become available online.
That's right.
And we're only going to begin to rely on it more and more. And what happens? How can you safeguard, or can you even safeguard yourself? Or it's just pretty soon you're just going to have to start buying insurance. They're already selling insurance for identity theft and things like that. But it's kind of frightening on the one hand. I mean, all the advances that we make, and then there's always someone who will take something that's, you know, been created, you know, to do some good, and ends up someone who will always undermine it and backdoor it, and scare the hell out of everybody.
Well, you're right, and think about it. We have now become so dependent on our electronics and our gadgets. For example, I don't know whether you've lost your phone in the last year or two. You almost go into a state of panic because think about it. Years ago, you know, 700 years ago, when Miss Susan was growing up, you know, you could actually, you know, you knew everyone's phone number. Yep. You knew your grandmother's, you knew your best friends, you knew Sister Goodnight's phone number from the Flower Guild. You knew everyone's number. Now, what do you do?
What they do in the Flower Guild?
That's right. So, but now, what do you do? It's like, oh my goodness, let me look up Thinbad, or let me look up Susan, and you don't know anyone's number anymore. But look at all the things that we now do online. You can buy your movie tickets. You can watch movies. You can go to Bible study. You can pay your bills. You can find your lost love. You can buy plane tickets. You can get a cruise. You can tour Disneyland. You can look at somebody.
You can tithe at church.
Pretty much. You can do.
Yeah,
you really can.
I do
That's
it.
Right.
You really can.
You know, you can do just about everything online. So
you can stay bedside Baptist and send your money in.
That's right. That's exactly right. And these guys and girls who are doing these things, they know that, and they know that we are very dependent on our electronics. And, you know, that's why it's so important that people do some common sense things, you know, like changing your passwords and making sure that folks are not looking over your shoulders, you know, in particular on the plane. You know, if you notice sometimes when you're flying and you want to get the movies or whatever, and it tells you to start typing in your password, you don't know who that joker is sitting next to you on the plane. You know,
that's right.
You have no idea, or who's looking over your shoulder. You don't even know what the stewardess is all about, or the hostess, or whatever they call them these days. Anybody can be
flight attendant.
You are dating yourself, sir. You're talking about Miss Susan.
What'd you say, Miss Susan?
They are flight attendants.
Whatever.
Straighten them out.
Thank you. Shut your face.
No. I'm telling Miss Susan to straighten you out.
Oh no, man! I had to hit it with the slap chat. There we go. So, you know, it's just you just cannot do enough preparation for your stuff now. You know, you have to make sure that you guard your passwords. You know, whatever you have to guard it.
You got in North Carolina area talking about, because they're laying the rest of the folks, you know, that school shooting, young gentleman Riley, they put arrest, I believe, and you know, we have all these situations that are going on too.